I'm just giving y'all a warning. For all y'all Lil Meech fans out there, this episode gets a little grimy, but don't worry. President 50 and VP Flannery gonna take care of everything.
Alright, you kids get to bed, I get the storybook.
BMF Reborn, Big Meech vs. Lil Meech. Prologue. The Saudis plan to spin the block. The desert sun beat down mercilessly on the sands of Khafji, a city once revered for its locally owned oil reserves. But now it lay subdued, its wealth and influence stripped away by two unorthodox conquerors, Big Meech, the infamous leader of the Black Mafia family, and Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, the rap mogul turned newly elected president of the independent nation of BMFville. Their alliance had brought gangland ingenuity and ruthless determination to the global stage, turning the oil fields of Khafji, Saudi Arabia, into a testament to their unconventional power. The Saudi royal elite had been humiliated, their royal soldiers overwhelmed by various gangs of American street niggas and raw charisma. The victory was brutal, decisive, and unforgettable. Yet, in the aftermath of their defeat, whispers of revenge simmered beneath the surface. Unable to outmuscle Big Meech and 50 Cent in direct combat, the Saudis sought another path. Revenge, they decided, required cunning, patience, and a perfect pawn. Chapter 1. The Search for the Perfect Weapon. The gilded halls of Al Yamama Palace echoed with the voices of powerful men. The Saudi princes, gathered in a secret council, debated their options. These Americans, Big Meech and 50 Cent, struck us at our pride, but pride is not our weapon, said Prince Ahmed, his voice a low growl. We will target this Big Meech first and strike at his heart instead, through his son, and then we will get this 50 Cent through his good friend by the name of... The room fell silent. Everyone knew of Demetrius Lil Meech Flannery Jr. due to extensive research. He was the heir to the BMF legacy. The young man was loyal, ambitious, and proud of his father's empire. Turning him against his dad, Big Meech would destroy the family from within. How do we turn a son against his father? Another prince asked. Not with force, replied Ahmed, his lips curling into a sly smile. With seduction. Thus began their quest to find the perfect weapon. Scouts were dispatched across Saudi Arabia, instructed to locate a woman with not only beauty, but also the cunning to infiltrate the Flannery dynasty. Weeks turned into months as they searched for someone who could embody their vengeance. In the coastal city of Al-Qatif, their search ended. Chapter 2. Fatima, the Arabian baddie. In the coastal city of Al-Qatif, where the call to prayer resonated over quiet streets, the Saudi prince's search came to an end. Fatima emerged as the perfect weapon, a high-end prostitute who charged men $10,000 per hour. Her beauty could stop conversations, her wit could disarm the sharpest minds, and whose loyalty could be bought for the right price. For this mission, her asking fee was $5 million, a small price for the ultra-rich oil barons to pay. At 6'2", Fatima possessed the same luscious, lickable body as WNBA star Angel Reese, with curves that rivaled the icons of Hollywood. Her jet-black hair flowed down to her waist, a shimmering curtain of allure that accentuated her striking features. Her face was angelic, but her eyes were a paradox, exuding both warmth and danger. The princes laid their plan before her. Fatima listened carefully, understanding her role as both a seductress and a saboteur. The stakes were high, but the reward was higher. She would live a life of unimaginable luxury if she succeeded. To perfect her allure, they funded her transformation. Though naturally stunning, Fatima's physique was enhanced to meet a vision that would make her irresistible to a black man like Lil Meech. A Brazilian butt lift accentuated her curves because all black men couldn't resist women with chunky cheeks. Her breasts increased to a voluptuous D cup from her natural size B cups, and they paid a dermatologist to darken her complexion so she would have the same skin tone as an African queen. For months, Fatima trained in secrecy. She studied Lil Meech's life, his personality, his aspirations, and his insecurities, watching repeats of the BMF series on the Stars Network over and over. By the end of her preparation, she knew him better than he knew himself.
Sorry, folks, quick commercial break.
I hope y'all liking this movie story so far. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and definitely hit that notification bell to be notified when a GK David movie story drops.
Chapter 3. Coming to America. Fatima arrived in the United States, first moving into an apartment in Douglasville, Georgia, outside of Atlanta, but eventually relocated to BMFville under the guise of a wealthy expatriate seeking a fresh start in America. Her new home, strategically located across the street from Lil Meech's, had become available after the untimely death of its previous owner. The Saudi princes paid some ghetto mechanic a ton of money to tamper with the brakes of the man's car, causing him to crash into the rear of a loaded trash truck at the bottom of a steep hill, becoming instantly crushed, pieces of his torso mixing in with the hot, smelly trash. This maneuver ensured that the home would be available, and Fatima would have the perfect vantage point. After settling in, Fatima began watching Lil Meech from her porch with practiced casualness. Her target was magnetic, exuding the confidence of a man accustomed to admiration, but she saw deeper. He was ambitious yet burdened by the shadow of his father, the legendary Big Meech. Fatima's approach was gradual, her flirtation subtle yet persistent. At first, Lil Meech noticed her from afar, noticing that she had a nice ass. Then they exchanged pleasantries. Soon, their encounters became intentional. Chapter 4. The seduction. Fatima was a master at making herself indispensable. She became Lil Meech's girl, laughing at his jokes, listening to his frustrations, and subtly planting doubts about his father. "You're more than just Big Meech's son," she said one evening, her voice soft yet insistent. "You're a king waiting for your throne." Lil Meech, flattered and emboldened, began spending more and more time with her. When she finally invited him to stay the night, he didn't hesitate. That night marked the turning point because her long, slithery tongue did things to Lil Meech's naked body that had him hooked, especially when it slithered inside of his hairy butt cave. He wanted to yell for her to stop because he thinks a man getting ate out is gay, but it felt too good, so he laid back and enjoyed the ride. As their relationship deepened, Fatima's verbal manipulations grew bolder. She mocked Big Meech's legacy in hushed tones, asking, if he is so great, why did he get caught and lose nearly 2 decades of his freedom, always framing her words as concern. "Do you really want to live in his shadow forever?" she asked one night. "You have the power to surpass him, Demetrius, to create your own kingdom." Lil Meech began to see his father's accomplishments as chains rather than triumphs. Fatima's words fed his insecurities, twisting his admiration into envy. Chapter 5. The Betrayal. After only 2 months of dating, Fatima suggested they move in together. Lil Meech, now completely enamored, sold his house immediately and relocated across the street into her lavish 3-bedroom home. One night, as they lay in bed after a 2-hour sweaty session of freakiness, Fatima made her boldest move yet. "Do you ever feel like the people in BMFville deserve more?" she asked, her tone casual. Lil Meech shrugged. "What you mean, babe?" "A fresh start," she said, tracing circles on his chest with her serpent-like tongue. "Someone young, someone ambitious, someone like you, leading them into a new era." Fatima's words ignited something in Lil Meech. With her encouragement, he began plotting an audacious takeover of BMFville. His plan? To storm the Black Capitol building with an army of niggas and just declare himself the new president, the same way he heard his dad and 50 Cent did when they took over the Saudi Arabian oil field. Yeah, 50 put him on, but fuck that nigga. There's a new sheriff in town. Through Fatima's guidance, Lil Meech began recruiting allies. Using his connections, he hopped on the gram and sent DMs out to some celebrity friends he had, R&B singers, Chris Brown and Ray J, both members of the Los Angeles-based Piru Blood Gang. The 2 singers eagerly agreed to help him out if he made them part of his government when he took over BMFville. Chapter 6. The Storming of the Black Capitol. A week later, after flying over to Georgia and meeting and planning with Lil Meech, around 95 or 96 Piru gangbangers converged on the Black Capitol building, their arrival cloaked under the guise of a peaceful gathering. As the sun rose over BMFville, chaos erupted as they all pulled out black and chrome blicks and started letting them go. The men stormed the building, overturning furniture, smashing windows, and defacing the halls of Black Power. The once majestic structure became a battlefield as the group clashed with BMFville police. 4 officers lost their lives before reinforcements arrived, pushing the attackers back. By then, the damage was done. The Black Capitol building stood as a symbol of rebellion, its walls scarred by bullets and its floors littered with debris. Chapter 6. The Call. It was a quiet evening in Meechy Town, one of the new, flourishing satellite cities established by BMFville as part of their growing global influence. This one was in the island nation of Jamaica. Vice President Flannery and President Curtis 50 Cent Jackson was celebrating the opening of a new trade hub there when the secure line of 50 Cent's Secret Service buzzed to life. "Sir, we have a situation here in BMFville," said the agent, a 6'5" former Army Ranger whose voice was clipped but urgent. "The Black Capitol building has been stormed. Several officers are down. We've detained most of the perpetrators."
Detained?
50 Cent barked, his tone cold.
Why didn't y'all wipe them all off the map? Them fools touched us, so we need to touch them.
Vice President Flannery might want to hear this, sir. One of the names on the list of men we apprehended. It's Demetrius Flannery, Jr. Big Meech froze, his glass of champagne slipping from his hand and shattering on the polished marble floor. His heart raced as the agent continued. Chapter 8. Beg for Mercy. Several hours later, as both men headed back home, they held a conference call with the command center of the BMFville military headquarters called the Trenches. President Jackson was ready to give the order to annihilate the rebels. His military had zero tolerance for insurrection. But Big Meech intervened, his voice trembling with both anger and despair. "Curtis, wait. That's my son, big bro. I love him." 50 Cent, his jaw tight, turned to his vice president.
Nigga, you must ain't never seen my movie, Get Rich or Die Trying. Rule number 1, never love no one. Love will get you killed. And besides, you know the law. This shit is treason, Meech. If I let them go, we lose respect.
"I'm not asking you to let them go," Meech said, his eyes pleading. "Lock 'em up. Put charges on 'em. Let me figure out what happened. I'll take full responsibility, but just don't put 'em in the grave." Reluctantly, 50 Cent agreed. The rebels who had survived the police response were charged and transported to a secure facility for interrogation. Chapter 9. Interrogation. When Big Meech and 50 Cent returned to BMFville, the city was on edge. News of the attack on the Black Capitol building had spread like wildfire, sparking outrage and demands for justice. Fox News ran sound bites of President Trump's reaction when he first heard the news.
"Seems like my friend 50 Cent doesn't have control of his building. That's what happens when you let those people have their own town. Total chaos. We'll just let them take each other out and convert that land back into good old Henry County, Georgia."
In the interrogation rooms, the story unfolded piece by piece. The captured gangsters, under intense questioning, all pointed to the same trio of names: Lil Meech, Chris Brown, and Ray J. As 50 Cent watched the confessions unfold, he couldn't help but think back to the time he had stepped in to save Ray J from an embarrassing altercation with the rapper Fabulous. "I should have let Fab Molly whop that lil bitch," he muttered under his breath. When it was Lil Meech's turn, he broke down under the weight of his father's gaze. "It was Fatima, Pops," he sobbed. "She told me I could be more. She said you only cared about your legacy. She made me believe I could be better than you." Big Meech's heart sank. His son's betrayal cut deeper than any enemy attack ever could. But amidst the pain, there was clarity. Fatima was the true architect of this chaos, and even though that bitch was a baddie, Big Meech had way badder shorties than her, right there in Magic City, so she didn't impress him. Chapter 10. The Chase. Determined to bring Fatima to justice, President Jackson dispatched his version of the CIA, whom he called G-Unit, to the house she shared with Lil Meech. But when they arrived, she was long gone. A neighbor reported seeing her leave in a hurry hours earlier. A quick check with airport security revealed the truth. Fatima had boarded a one-way flight to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, from Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. Big Meech and 50 Cent convened with senior advisors in G-Unit, BMF Ville's elite intelligence agency. Their investigation unearthed the truth about Fatima's mission. The Saudi princes had orchestrated the entire plot, seeking revenge for their humiliating defeat over the oil fields that Meech and 50 accumulated. Chapter 11. Plans for Revenge. Fifth, they came for my family, Big Meech said, his voice like steel. They used my son to try and destroy everything we built. We can't let this go. 50 Cent nodded, his expression grim.
They thought they could outsmart us. Now, we finna show them what happens when you mess with BMFville.
The two men began laying the groundwork for their response. G-Unit agents were deployed to Saudi Arabia to gather intelligence on the royal families and their operations. The goal was clear: dismantle their power and make an example of them. But Big Meech had one condition. We're not just going after the princes. We're bringing that bitch back. I'm gonna stick something in her, then put her in the grave, my nigga. Epilogue. The storm to come. As Fatima landed in Saudi Arabia, she felt a wave of relief. Her mission was complete, and the princes had promised her safety. But deep down, a sense of unease lingered. She underestimated the reach of Big Meech and 50 Cent. In the dimly lit war room of BMF Ville's The Trenches, the two leaders finalized their plans. Revenge was no longer just a desire, it was a necessity. The storm was coming, and it would shake the sands of Saudi Arabia to its core once again.
Me and Big Meech finna crunch that whole main, and we ain't bullshitting.